What's up, guys? It's your boy Gabe the Champ, back with some One Piece theories. And let's talk about Yamato. It's been a while since I've heard this discussed in the fandom, and I figure with Wano likely ending this year, we'll finally be getting the answer to that question if Yamato will be joining the crew. Quick spoiler warning for any non-manga readers, there definitely will be some spoilers in this video, so if you're an anime only, definitely check out some of my other content. That we've got that out of the way, let's jump into the discussion. So I'll be giving arguments for both sides of the debate, giving points for if she will be joining the crew, and also a counter argument as to the reasons why I don't think she'll be joining the crew. But before we continue, make sure to like and subscribe to the channel for more One Piece content like this. So let's start with the more obvious side, because more people feel that she will be joining the crew based on what we're seeing in the manga and the anime so far. Right from Yamato's introduction, it wasn't too long before most of the fans were speculating and already hoping that she would join, and that's because getting a new crew member is really exciting. This is something that we look forward to as a part of the story, and it's been years since we've had a new crewmate join. If you count Jinbei joining in this arc, then I guess you wouldn't see it that way, but most people knew that Jinbei was asked to join since Whole Cake Island. Actually, before that, Fishman Island. Luffy asked him to join in Fishman Island, and he told him that he had some business that he needed to take care of. When we get to Whole Cake Island, we see the business that he needs to take care of, and that is dealing with Big Mom. At the end of Whole Cake Island, Jinbei is supposed to be joining the crew, yet he tells Luffy that he wants to stay back and make sure that the Straw Hats are able to escape successfully, and also make sure that his former crew, the Fishman Pirates, are taken care of as well. Now, out of all the Straw Hats that have joined the crew so far, Jinbei definitely took the longest and also was the one that was in the most roundabout way. I don't think that the next Straw Hat that joins the crew will be like this. It may be a bit straightforward, and it may be the situation that we have here with Yamato. I don't think it would be completely fair to compare the way that Yamato may be joining as to one of the characters that joined like pre-time skip, because I feel like the formula is going to be different, but there are some key elements that are part of every single Straw Hat, whether they joined pre-time skip or post-time skip. So let's look into some of these things that we've seen so far with Yamato. Right from her introduction, she tells Luffy that as Ace's brother, he has to give her a ride on his ship. So we were hoping like, oh yes, definitely join. We know that before they join, there's definitely going to be some type of conflict, and we definitely need to get a little bit more of a backstory as to who this character is. Yamato was seen as Kaido's son because she was identifying as Oden, which would be a guy, so that's why she would be his son instead of the daughter. But when we actually get a bit more into Yamato's past, they show Kaido's subordinates referring to her as the Oni princess, and everyone pretty much called her Kaido's daughter in that time. But as a part of her backstory, she talks about that she witnessed Oden's execution, and she was inspired because she felt that he was such a great man. So she wanted to emulate and beat him, literally beat him. So that was her dream. I think that was a little bit far-fetched, but I would definitely venture to say that her actual dream is just to actually leave Wano and adventure. So that would be her dream. Not actually to be Oden, but just to be like Oden and go on an adventure like he did. So we get a first part of the backstory when she's talking to Momonosuke and talking about her meeting Ace. And then we get another part of the backstory while she's fighting Kaido, and we see her as a child. So arguably we already have two of the required parts of being a Straw Hat, which is getting to know their backstory and also understanding what is their dream, like what is their motivation. Another major point that people point out would be what role would Yamato serve on the Straw Hat crew. And since she wants to be like Oden, it seems that potentially she could be the lawkeeper, because I believe that's what Oden's role on the Whitebeard Pirates. And then lastly, there's always some type of conflict that needs to be resolved within the arc that they would be joining. You can look at Brook. When he was joining, they needed to help Brook to get back his shadow, as well as some of the other Straw Hats that eventually lost their shadows as well. But that conflict got resolved. We got Brook's backstory, pretty sad. Then Brook joined the crew as the musician. So I think for the most part, I mean, this conflict still has yet to be resolved here in Wano, but I feel like obviously once Kaido is defeated, then Yamato will be released and not have to follow her father's orders anymore. Wano can be opened up, which she wants to also achieve because that is Oden's dream and also her dream as well. Well, with her wanting to be Oden and all. So you can argue that with all those points, you potentially have enough for Yamato to be joining the crew. Or do we? So now I'm going to give the counter argument and the reasons why I don't think Yamato will be joining the crew. At least the way things are right now. Things can change and potentially we'll have a stronger case for Yamato to join the crew. But let's just start off with the introduction. Yamato introduces herself to Luffy as the son of Kaido, and she says she's the son of Kaido because she wants to be Oden. So right off the bat, we were like, okay, seems like Yamato has a little bit of some identity issues. And now we get into the backstory. The backstory wasn't all that sad. I mean, you can argue a little bit that, yeah, with the samurai in the cave, and eventually I do believe the samurai die, but we're not 100% sure of what ended up happening with the samurai. Potentially the anime can expand on that a little bit more. Right? And also we just know that Yamato ate her devil fruit as a child because she was really hungry and Kaido was starving her. So Kaido was starving her because of her wanting to be Oden, and he wanted her to give that ideal up. Now, I do believe we may potentially get more with Yamato's backstory with a part of Kaido's backstory, because we haven't gotten Kaido's full backstory yet either. So there is some potential there to expand a bit more on the backstory and see if it can relate to some type of dream. Because currently I also think that her dream is a bit too shallow, because if her dream is literally just traveling and going on an adventure, her dream is already achieved once she sets out on a ship with the Straw Hat Pirates. Whereas all the rest of the Straw Hats, their dream won't be achieved until they actually succeed in achieving the One Piece. Zoro has to beat Mihawk. The Nami wants to draw maps of the entire seas, so she definitely would have to travel around the world. Most of the Straw Hats, basically, they won't achieve their goal until the end of the series, likely. But Yamato's dream would just be achieved, like I said, just from going on the boat, or just from opening Wano's borders if you're going along with Oden's dream. So we need a little bit more depth to Yamato's dream and her backstory so far. And next up we have her role. So being a role as a log keeper does seem a little strange, and it's a very late addition to the story, being that the Straw Hats are pretty much at the end of their journey. So it would be like she would just be logging like the last 2 islands or something like that. And it's not really that necessary. That's something that I think should have been added in the beginning of the journey. Like when Oden went with Roger, he actually traveled pretty much the entire Grand Line because they were going through and finding all the poneglyphs for Oden to read. But potentially this could not be the role, and there could be a different role for Yamato. But right now, we just don't see it yet. Now, to add to the reasons why she likely won't be joining the Straw Hats, there are a couple potential reasons why Yamato will end up staying in Wano. So this would just add to the reasons why she won't be joining the crew. Now, one of the things I think is more strong of a reason is for Yamato to realize who she is. There was a moment when Yamato actually claimed who she actually really was when she was talking to Momonosuke and trying to protect him. She said to Momonosuke, "I introduced myself initially as Oden, but my real name is Yamato, and I will die for you." So at that moment, I was like, wow, this is Yamato. This is the Yamato that we would love to see. So Yamato potentially can realize that she's not Oden and want to stay in Wano to protect Momonosuke, because apparently Momonosuke is very important to the Dawn and opening up Wano's borders. After he read Oden's journal, he was like, I can't die here. And Yamato also read somewhere in the journal that Momonosuke would be instrumental in everything that's going to be happening towards the end of the story. Another potential reason why Yamato would be staying in Wano is the devil fruit that she ate. Now, she ate this devil fruit by accident, but it could somehow be fate that it is the devil fruit of the guardian deity of Wano. Now, when Kaido says this, he tells Yamato that she needs to stay in Wano to be its shogun. but she goes against this because she doesn't want to follow Kaido's orders. Now, it's possible that Yamato could come to this conclusion on her own once Kaido is defeated and she decides, I want to be myself. I want to stay here after I read everything. I want to stay here and protect Momonosuke and be the guardian that he needs. We'll see. I feel, though, the identity issue is definitely something that should be resolved before Yamato makes any decision about what's going to happen with her future, whether it's to stay in Wano and protect Momonosuke or whether it's to actually leave and go with the Straw Hats on the adventure. Now, before I wrap up, there were a few arguments in the past that I've seen people use for both sides, like for Yamato to be joining the Straw Hats. People mentioned that Yamato was on a lot of memorabilia that was released, like plates and cups and towels and the whatnot, but I don't think that that's a strong enough reason to say that she'll be joining, because they do come out with memorabilia like that for Ace and Sabo and other characters that are very popular, and Yamato seemed like a very popular character from the moment that she was introduced. And then I also didn't want to use the arguments against her by saying that she was too strong, because when we see that she was clashing with Kaido at that time, it seemed that she may be potentially strong as Zoro or even stronger. But we knew she wasn't stronger than Luffy because she admitted that Luffy would need to be the one to defeat him. But either way, I'm glad that I wouldn't use those discussions, because it seems as though with Sanji and Zoro's new power-ups, they likely have passed her in strength at this point. Another argument that I would have used against her was the fact that Luffy gave her a nickname by calling her Yamao, just like he does with a lot of other characters that we meet in some of the arcs, and even the ones that are still allied with the Straw Hats, like Kid, he calls him Jaggy, and Trafalgar Law, he calls him Thragai or something like that. I initially was going to say that because that was my first idea when I first saw that. When I saw Yamao, I was like, oh, okay, he looked at her like a friend, but this is just somebody who I'm going to be cool with till we get this thing done, and then I'm out of here. But who knows? They used to call Chopper emergency food. So who knows? I mean, things can change, and he could potentially start actually calling her Yamato once she actually identifies as herself. But once again, like I said, we'll find that out soon. So let me just wrap things up. Currently, with the way the story is, I don't think that she will be joining. I think that she has a lot of potential. Could be wrong, and Yamato could just join as is. I don't necessarily see that as how the story will go. She definitely will have some type of conflict that needs to be resolved by the end of this arc. But we'll see what happens after that. Like I said, right now, I don't think she will be joining. I would love for her to join because I think she's a great character. I love her design. She's beautiful. It would be another woman on the crew. But I don't see it happening just yet. But yeah, guys, that pretty much wraps up the video. Definitely let me know your thoughts below if you guys think she will be joining the crew. If there's anything that I missed as far as a point as to why she would be joining or why she wouldn't be joining, definitely share your thoughts and let me know. Definitely like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.